Hey guys, welcome back to Mag 5 Firearms. Today we are going to do another disassemble, reassemble video of one of the weapons that's actually pretty special to me. It's one of my near and dear uh, firearms. It's the very first one I ever bought. I ever bought with my own money. Today we're going to do one on my Smith and Wesson M&P. Uh, another fabulous gun. I don't think this is something. This is never going to leave my collection. It's always going to be here. It's very special to me, just because it was my first. Carried it quite a long time. Um, but we're going to have some fun with this. Okay, we'll start the video shortly. All right. Hey there, YouTube. How's everybody doing today? So we're gonna do a reassemble video of one of the firearms in my collection that's kind of near and dear to me. It is the very first pistol that I ever purchased. It is the Smith and Wesson M&P 40. Now that's what it was originally when I first got it. Through the years, I kept it as a 40 for the longest time, and we really enjoyed this. My whole family. I taught my kids how to shoot with this, all three of them, and my wife as well. And then after a while, I mean, I'm going to tell you, I carried this thing probably 4 or 5 years before I picked up my next firearm, which was the Glock 19. Um, then it just wound up sitting on my shelf for the longest time. So, when I really started getting into building my firearms and kind of upgrading them and stuff like that. I mean, if that's really what it's called, because, I'm just buying parts from other people and just putting them on my new guns, right? On the guns that I already have. I decided that instead of buying a new gun and doing that, that I would just take what I have and upgrade it. So, the power of the 40, man, I mean, that'll stop anybody with a single shot. Anybody, anything, right? But the ammo is expensive. Well, it was at the time as well. Still kind of is now. Definitely, 7 or 8 cents higher per bullet than the 9mm. So one of the things I did was I converted it to a 9mm. And that was just as easy as buying a conversion barrel. So I don't know if you can see this, but I went to KKM and I had them make me a conversion barrel that goes from 40 to 9. So the reason why it had to be made is because, the inside of the slide, they mold it to the inside of the slides so that there's no wiggle room or move, or it's made for this barrel, for this slide is what I'm trying to say. So it took about 8 weeks, but from the time I ordered it to the time I received it. So I got that, and then literally it's just a drop-in barrel at that point. So I took the 40 out and I put the 9 in. And then that way, all my, except for my rifles, all my sidearms, my handguns are 9mm at this point. So all I got to do is buy one kind of ammo, which is, convenient for me. So at the same time, while I was doing that, I had finished my Glock 19 because I had built that up. I dolled it up a little bit and made it a performance kind of competition kind of weapon. I decided to do some upgrades to this as well. So I just changed the colors of the pins. Real easy. I changed the color of the release there. I tried to make it all stainless since the barrel was stainless when I got it. So, I just changed the pins up a little bit and I put a tungsten guide rod on it, a pure tungsten guide rod. So it's just, it's all tungsten. So it's a heavier Then it helps keep that muzzle down when you shoot, right? I added the optic to it. Not the optic, I'm sorry. This is a light, right? I don't know why I'm having these brain farts every once in a while. And then one of my favorite things I added to it was the gas pedal. Now, the gas pedal is really kind of cool. Not only does it, it folds, so I can use any holster with it, right? It just slides right in and folds up, and then when you pull it out, it pops in, right? This is made by Black Steel. That's a, you know, that was pretty cool add on to that as well. I added the magwell from Carver. Carver Customs did the magwell. Um, and then I added a trigger. Now this trigger is an Apex trigger. So I know I said that when I was doing the video on my Glock 45. I made a verbal mistake. The Glock 45 has a Timney trigger. My M&P has the Apex trigger. So it's an Apex M&P competition trigger. I like those. I mean, I just kind of like the soft squeeze of the trigger, so that you can kind of do multiple shots, without moving the finger too much. Again, I always planned on trying to get into competition. I just haven't gotten there yet. It's something I still would love to do. But it's the trigger is pretty light on this one here as well. And then on top of that, obviously I had to buy new mags for it, right? I couldn't just use the 40 millimeter mags, or the 40 Smith and Wesson magazines for the 9mm barrel, right? So the way you convert it is you swap out the barrel, then you have to buy 9mm magazines. So I did that. I went out and I bought some magazines, and then also from Carver, I bought these extensions. So this is like a +8, right? It's weird. So this can hold up to 25 rounds. So that was just another part of it. And then when you add it, I don't know, it looks pretty badass in my opinion, right? So I don't know. I like the way things look. It's very eye appealing to me. All right, so added the silver barrel, the silver release in the front. You had the nice silver, and then the silver tungsten guy rod, and then you have the silver here. So I don't know. Visually, I think aesthetically, it looks great, and it functions even better. So the other thing, I added the tactical light to the front, and again, that with the tungsten guide rod, the weight of that definitely helps that the backfire, right? So, and then adding the gas pedal, right? So when you grip it, you have your normal grip, and these come in different sizes, is the way they term it, but actually it's lengths, right? Depending on where your thumb lands. So they tell you to select it based on where your thumb lands. So for me, I think mine was a long, and I just, your thumb goes right there. You get a good grip on it, and then you push down with your thumb, right? So you're pushing down with your thumb, and then when you pull the trigger, it helps with that recoil. So again, it's it's really cool. It's definitely the concept. I went out and bought one of these. Let's do a test on this trigger. Let's see how many pounds it is. So, I mean, like you can see here, right? So, boom. All right. And then I'm going to hold the trigger and do it again. And then I'm going to release slowly. There. You saw how far my finger moved, right? And then again. So you pull it out, let go of the trigger a little bit. That's reset. And then you can fire again, right? So like it's so small. So let's see what this says. So I'm gonna stand up for this one. We're gonna cock the slide, put this on the trigger, and let's see where we're at here. So it's hard to keep it balanced, so you gotta kind of do one of these things. Maybe I'll do it from this side so that I can read the number better. Here, so I'm just holding it like this so that now I'm not putting any, I'm not holding up the gun. I'm just kind of just stopping it from tipping forward, right? Because the weight of the slide. All right, so we're gonna put the weight on it, and then you hold this, and it zeroes it out. There it is. Okay, and then you just kind of give it a pull. Ready? Let's try that again. Okay. Zero that out again. There we go. Ready? Give it a pull. There it is. 2.25. 2.25. That's a light trigger. So this is not something that I would carry anymore. Yeah, I knew it then as well, but we'll do it one more time just to see. Do it 2 or 3 times, and then you take the average, right? So 2.2, and okay, 2.76, still very light. We'll do it one more time. And oh, you know what? I'm going to reset this one again. So 2.2, 2.76, and then the third one is 2.02. Right? So, okay, so we're at like 2.25, right? So still, an average of all of it, it's still a light trigger, man. That is, so I would never carry that. I wouldn't trust, having that in my holster, because I like to carry appendix. Having that in my holster to, and then any pump, I mean, that's a light trigger, man. Anything can let that go off. But that's why it's a competition trigger, so that you don't have to, you can, and I'll do this under the camera right there, right? So pull the trigger, boom, right? Now I'm going to release the trigger, and we're going to listen for the click. Ready? Boom. All right, and then I'm going to release the trigger. See, it didn't move at all. Okay, so it's, we'll do it like this. In, and then release. See? My finger barely moved. All right, and then put it back in. Boom. All right, yeah, that's a super light trigger. All right, so the main thing about this today is that we were going to take it apart, and I was going to show you how to do it. Now, this is different than what a normal Smith and Wesson would be, because I changed out the lever. Okay, so it's a little different, but yet the same. Okay, so with this being here, you take it, you put it, get it caught, and now you just, instead of using the lever that was there, you're just using this. Boom, just like that, right? Take that, pull the trigger, and we're off. Okay, now we have the slide. I'm just checking my volume, making sure we're still good here. Yep, audio sounds good. So we're going to pull this out. There's your guide rod. So this is Radial Arms makes this guide rod. So it's an 16 pound guide rod from Radial Arms. Radian Arms, R-A-D-I-A-N, Radian Arms, and it's the same poundage as factory, which I believe was 16. All right, so I just made it the same. Okay, and then the barrel, there we go. Barrel, it's the same as pretty much every other one, where when you put it in, it kind of just sits in there, and to take it out, you got to push it up a little bit, right, and then back and out. Okay. And then there's your slide. Just like that. Okay. And then when it comes to the rest of this, you know, all right, I think she's time for another cleaning. Maybe I'll do another video on a cleaning and we'll strip it all the way down. But this the release thing here just pulls out like that. Now, when I bought this gas pedal, this thing is so old, they actually don't really make parts for it anymore, right? This is the original M&P. Well, not the original, but within the past 20 years, it's the 1.0, right? So now they have the 2.0s out, right? The M&P 2.0s. So this is the original 1.0 M&P. So they didn't have any of these offerings for the 1.0. So again, I did a little Google investigating, and I found out that if I buy the 2.01 and I just take my Dremel to it and shave out, there was like a little lip in here, right? You shave that off, then it works fine. And that's what I did, and it works perfect, So that's another really great addition to my guns. I have it on another one as well, which I'll do another video on. But, they're just expensive, right? $110 for that. Now, if you're really into like competition and you're actually shooting, well, worth it, right? But for somebody who's just doing it at the range, I don't know. But it definitely works. And it's, I think it's a really great part of what I have going on here. Right? And then over here we have the light, which, let me see. I think I got a screwdriver here. We can pull that off real quick. You can use a screwdriver. You can try and use your hands, or you can use an Allen wrench. All right, so you just go in. I just use the flathead and loosen that up just a little bit and unlock it. There we go, just like that. Okay. Now you loosen that up. You keep going a little bit, and then this side will actually slide out. All right. So you loosen, and then you press in, and you see how this side popped out. Boom, and it comes off. So this is the Olight Valkyrie PL3. I think these things are great. A lot of people made fun of me because of because I got this, because they're saying, oh, you finally got yourself a really nice gun, but you put put a shit Olight on there. I don't know. I couldn't disagree with them more. I really think it's a great light. I mean, this is like 2,000 Loomis, maybe 1,500, something like that. I don't remember the exact specs, and I mean, it works. And the cool thing about this is that it's rechargeable and it uses a magnet, right? So the magnet sticks on and it charges. And then when it's done, it'll turn green and you pop it off. You don't even have to take it off the gun. No batteries to change, nothing, right? So I usually just leave it on the gun and I just put the gun aside and then I plug it in. I put the magnet on there. And then when it turns green, I took it off and I hang my gun. So I don't even have to take it off, which is really good. And then it has a couple, it has a high and then it has a low, right? And then it has a strobe, right? I didn't want to do that in the camera. I didn't want to blind anybody. And then there's different settings. I mean, for what we do with it, I mean, it works fine, right? And it's a third of the price of some of the name brand ones, like Streamlight and, the other ones. Not that I'm saying Streamlight's bad. I'm sure it's a great light, but again, I'm always budget friendly. So, I went with this, and, I believe in that if I'm going to spend money on upgrading a gun, the light's really not the one I'm going to put the money into, right? Now, the light, as long as it works, we're good, right? As long as it functions when I need it to, we're perfect, right? I'll spend the money on upgrading the trigger, right? I'll spend $200 on a trigger. Absolutely, no problem. Because when I need it to work, it's going to work, right? If that light doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. But if my trigger fails, or I buy a shit barrel and it blows up on me when I need it, that's what I won't. That to me is not acceptable, right? So again, the functionality of the pistol, I'll spend money on. But on a light, this doesn't make sense to me. Again, as long as it turns on and it's bright and I can see, then it's perfect for what I need it to do. All right, and then to get it back on, you just push the button in to extend it, and then you seat it, right? That's about as far as that's about as far as it goes. Just like that, and then you just tighten the screw. You hold it in place, and then you tighten it. Just like that. There we go. Tighten it up. Tighten, tighten, tighten. Make sure it doesn't fall off. And I feel like Olight has great customer service too, because there was actually a couple of them that I got in that wouldn't charge or whatever, and their customer service was great. I did it all online through the virtual chat. Dude, I had parts the next day. They sent me. They don't blink twice about replacing it, right? They don't charge you anything. They don't charge you shipping. That nothing. They just said, okay, don't question you. Ask you to try one or two things, and then, if that doesn't work, then, really, their customer service was awesome. So anyway, so that's what that is, man. So do we want to break this down some more? Why not? Let's see how much time. We've spent some time on this already. I've been jibber jabbering about some other things. All right, let's pop. The only thing I don't want to do is take out the trigger. I feel, if I remember correctly, that was a little bit of a pain in the butt. Maybe not. All right, let's do it. Why not? All right. So we're gonna pull out our thing here. We're gonna pull out our block. All right, and I remove from the left, pop it out from the right. And when I put it back in, I go from right to left. Again, I don't know if that's the way you're supposed to do it, but that's the way I do it, right? Unless you can't, because the way the pin's shaped, but So we're gonna go ahead and put that through. One. Like that. You know what? See, like this one here. See how that head's bigger than that head? So that tells me that this one, it has to go that way. So go. That came out nice and smooth. And again, I love this block because it has a magnet. So if you have metal pins, it just sticks to it. All right. So now we just remove our block just like that. If we really want to do a deep cleaning, that comes out like that. And then at this point, your release comes out. And then your trigger comes out as well. So here's the trigger bar, and again, this is the apex trigger, right? And it still has the safety feature right here. So remember we talked about how when I pull the trigger, I like to feel a little bit of a resistance when I'm pulling, right? I like the resistance when it's coming back. I want to feel it coming back, right? And with this one, because of this spring, and it sits in here, I'm gonna grab this pin just so that spring doesn't fall out, because I remember that being a pain in the butt to put back in, right? So the spring extends when you pull it in, and then it pulls it back together when you start to let go. So you feel that, and I like that, right? And then you can feel where that wall is, where you can stop and pull the trigger again. All right. So yeah, so this is, again, what did we do? So we thought it was a 2.25. I mean, that's pretty wonderful. I thought that was a great there we go. And then we're gonna put that just like this. All right. So what else can we do here? I guess we could take out the trigger housing, huh? And go like this, right here. We're gonna hit that out. And there's the other pin for that. I'm gonna put these pins here. Let's get them out of, boom, boom. Put that aside. Now when it comes to the trigger housing, yeah, it just, once you pull the pins out, it just pops out like that. All right. And over here you have the sear. This is the trigger sear right here. So this the sear is the way the trigger pin, this pin right here, right? I just want to make sure you guys can see this. This part right here of the trigger bar, that actually sits right here in this groove, right there, just like that, right? And the way it moves the sear up and down, this, which has a spring back here, right? So that's what helps control the housing. Yeah. This part here, right here, it goes up and down. This is like if you read the manual for Smith and Wesson, you're supposed to release this. You're supposed to open it up before you remove the slide. I'm not exactly sure why, because it works when you don't. I don't know. So, but that's what that's there for. So that goes like that. I think it's maybe part of one of their safety things where something won't work unless it's because you're supposed to open it like this when you go to take it apart, and then when you put the magazine back in, it closes it like that. So I'm assuming that that's what it's about. All right. So when I replaced the trigger, I replaced obviously the trigger shoe, the bar, and then I replaced the sear here. So, and that's where we're at there. I'm going to take a sip of coffee just because it's morning time, right? All right. All right. Now this leaves us with an empty of a shell of the frame, right? We have the magazine release still here. We got this. This here, just to remove this, all it is an Allen key. Just unscrew it and it pulls off. To remove the magazine release, if you look inside here, and I hope you can see this, you see this bar right here. Right here on, maybe you can see it like that. Let me see. There it is. It's right there. Okay? And it sits in this little notch of the magazine release, which is, it goes all the way through to the other side. All right, so you can see it presses, it goes right there. All right, so there's like a it looks like this. There's like a little notch, and this spring bar right here, right, sits in that notch, so it puts tension on it, so that you go like that, it releases, and then the tension pops it back out. So I don't think I need to do that with you guys. You know what? This gun can definitely use a cleaning, but I'm not going to do it today. But maybe I'll do another video with it because I just see a lot of oil sitting in here. And oil attracts dust and dirt, and even if it's just dust in the air, I don't want it to jam up when I need it, All right, and then to put it back together, you just do it backwards, right? So we're going to take the trigger housing, and that literally just slides into place like this. Oh, wait. Make sure you put it in the right way. You got to turn it around. It slides in just like... Okay. Okay, come on. There we go. Of course. I said it just slides back in. It's real easy. Let me get my old man glasses. Hold on. Let me get my old man glasses. Do this. My kids were here. Oh, Dad, you're blind. All right. So I just got to make sure you got to line up the grooves and stuff so that it slides right in this place here. There we go. See? I needed my glasses. That's what I needed. All right. And then you can take your spring, your pin, And you just push that back in. I mean, even my springs are dirty. Now I'm just gonna. Right. I'm gonna take my pin pusher and I'm just gonna, just so that it's flush, pop that in a little bit. Make sure that goes down all the way. Boom. All right. So that it's even on both sides, right? So now that goes in, and then I'm gonna take my trigger like this, and I'm gonna slide it into that groove. I'm gonna turn it around actually, because I can see it better like that. So I'm gonna slide it right into that groove we talked about. Boom. Just there we go. Okay. And that goes down like that. Okay. I put that pin in earlier just so that it wouldn't it wouldn't come apart, right? Remember? It's not in all the way. Hold on, let's get that in all the way. All the way. Come on. There we go. It's been a long time since I've done that. There we go. Get that in all the way. Perfect. Push that thing. There we go. Now she's in. There we go. All right. So that goes back in like that, right? And then we're going to put our release back in. And that just sits in and goes over top of the spring like that. Okay. And then we're going to put our block back in. Now, here's the important thing about the block, guys. I did this and it sucked. There is like a spring. I think they call it a spring, but you see this right here? It falls out. That little bastard fell out. See, it just moved. Falls out. Then your slide, takedown lever won't work like it should. So when you put the slide takedown lever in there, the pressure of this, so it's spring tension, pushes up on it and it holds it in there, right? So you can't lose that. That little part is, I mean, it's only $7 or $8, but just make sure you see it and you know it's there before you put your gun back together. All right, and then you slide that back in, just like this. Boom. All right, and push down. Of course. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Boom. Now it's all the way in. And if you look from this angle here, you can actually see that little wire spring right there, like that. It's right there. Okay. So at this point, we can put our pins back in. All right, but we got to make sure we are all lined up. So before I put this pin back in, I actually use this as a slave pin for this one. All right, because what you got to do is you have the spring of the trigger. All right, you know what? Let me remove this just so that you can see it better. Okay. All right, so you have the release lever here, right? It goes around like a horseshoe like that. And then you have the trigger right here in the middle, right? So this spring here that gives you that tension on the trigger shoe, there's a little loop here, and you got to get your pin through the lever, the trigger, the spring, and then back out to the other side. All right? So what I like to do is push this in and then get everything aligned. See how that just this up. Come on. Okay. I got it through the trigger shoe there, and then now the spring is right here. So I got to push that in just a little bit. And now I'm through the spring, right? And then I like to get it so that it just comes straight out, right? And then sometimes you just got to go in there like this and push it in. So I'm just using this as a slave pin, right? And all that means is that I'm going to put the other pin in and push this one out so that everything's already lined up, you know? So, come on. Oh, I didn't even come out the other side of the release. So let's see, maybe if I just tap it. There it is. It just came out the other side. All right, and then if I look through here, I see it. Like that. And I think that's a good spot that we can just take this now, since we have all the holes aligned, right? And we just kind of got to wiggle our way through. Give it a couple taps. See? And it's pushing that one out, right? Now I'm going to put a little bit of tension on there so it doesn't just drop before it goes all the way through. All right? And just... Now we're going to give it a wiggle. Oh, see? I'm an idiot. Now that the spring popped out. See? That loop right there. So now I gotta do one of these things. All right. Okay, so now I got it where they're meeting in the middle. I'm just going to move that spring over. Like that. And then keep going. Look at that. See, it shot out, went there. And now I'm pretty much all the way through. All I got to do is give it a couple love taps. And we're all the way through. Just like that. And we're just going to make sure it's flush. Boom. Now we're in. See? So as you can tell, now that we have it, right, we move the trigger, pull back, you see how the spring extends like that? Boom, boom. See how it extends? And you see what I mean? Like feeling it, when you let go of the trigger, it closes here, right? And you feel that on your fingertip, all right? So you know when, right? And then the bar, so that the way this works is it, so this attaches to this underneath the sear, which is right here. All right, and you see the sear move every time you pull the trigger. All right, and then this part here attaches from the slide above. It hooks the firing pin, right? So as you're pulling the trigger, it's pulling the firing pin back, and then when you get to the back, the firing pin slides up, out, and fires. All right, and then it goes through to the chamber, right? And then hits the primer of the bullet, makes an explosion, and then the bullet comes out. So, yeah, that's the way it works. Again, super interesting for me, man. I love looking at the way things work. You know? Fascinating. All right, so we got one more spring to put in, and that's after not spring, pin, but we're going to put the block back in, right? And again, make sure you're putting it in the right direction. We're going to do this. All right, and that just slides down. I'm an asshole. All right, there we go. So this actually sits around the pin. I got excited explaining that all to you, but didn't realize this pin actually goes through the block housing too. All right, so we're gonna pull that back out. I'll use this as the slave pin like that. Put that in like this. Hopefully I can just pull that out, slide this down without moving anything. Like that. Oops, there we go. Put this all the way through. You know what, I'm going to use the pin again, right? If it works, it works. Right, now I'm going to stick this in there just to kind of line everything up. Just like that. Go to something a little thicker here. There we go. Okay. There we go. Got that all lined up. See, now with the block on there, it's harder to see because you got the, breaking up your view here. But, I'm just playing with that spring in the middle again because it got caught between the pins. So I'm just trying to get it to move over so I can get the pin through. Just need it to move over just a little bit. At this point, I don't need that. It's got to back this. I think I have it pinched too much. There, I do. See. Okay. Now we're just gonna go like, there we go. There we go. All right. Now we're in. Just like that. All right. Okay. Took an extra, 5 seconds. Push that through. Oh, I got my light on. There we go. And you push this through. Hit that with a hammer. Boom. Make it flush. Just like that. Now the slides back together. All right, function test. Perfect. Now we're going to put the slide back together. All right, so the barrel goes in. And remember, drops like that. Push it back and it seats in. All right, it's sat right into place. And then we're going to put the guide rod in. That has its own little home. Just like that. Push in and down. Now the slide's back together. Okay? And now I'm going to put this in. All right? So you'll notice on the gas pedal, there's a little groove cut in here, right here. All right? That's the part we're going to start over top of this spring thing. Spring, whatever that's called. They all have funny names. All right, so you're going to start there. And you're just kind of going to jiggle in until it breaks through. And you go straight across. All right? And then you're going to turn it to the open position like that. And then you're going to push in. And it seats itself right in the back over here. There's a little indentation right in there. It seats itself right in there. right? So now that it's in the open position, we can take our slide and we just put it back in. And just put it back in. All right, that's it. Crank it back. Put the release on. Lock it into place. Boom. Just like that. We're good. Give it a couple. Perfect. We're done. What do you guys think? How'd you like that one, huh? Is that any better or worse than any other one? But I do want to hear your opinions. Please leave comments, right? Tell me you liked it. Tell me you didn't like it. What you liked about it. What you didn't like about it. Something sucked. It didn't suck. Whatever it is. I want to know because I enjoy doing this, and I want to make sure that I'm giving you the best possible information that I can. And but I don't know if I'm doing it right unless you tell me. Okay? All right, folks. That's all I got for you today. Like, click, subscribe, share. Please, I really appreciate that. We're on Instagram, obviously YouTube and Facebook. All right? We're actually also on, what's that platform called? Discord. My son said, Dad, go on Discord. I said, why? He goes, because that's where all the kids are going. So I said, all right. So we set up an account on Discord. I don't know much about it. He's actually going to help me with that. But anyway, guys, thank you so much. Thank you for spending your time with me today. I really do appreciate it. God bless. God bless. Like, click, subscribe, and share. Thank you, guys. God bless.